Good evening, everyone. We are back with another Disney animated classic review, up to number 20 today. We are officially a third of the way there. I think it's gone pretty quick, personally. That's just me, the fact that 20 plus weeks have gone already. And an interesting one today, because of information that you told me right before we went live. We're talking about the Aristocats. Now, this is one that I've watched a number of times, whether it's been on TV, had it on video as well, of course, have it on DVD now. This was a first time watch for you, and you're probably fresh out of this after about like an hour or two ago, maybe, if that, maybe 10 minutes ago before we even went live. I don't know. So
yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight because I've got the nostalgia for it, and you're coming at it, with an adult pair of eyes and everything like that, and seeing if you like it or not. So it should be an interesting discussion, and we'll see where we go with it. We've already had a comment from Brian Emery. He's always first one in every single time, and he says, "Great movie with a great villain." I like the villain in this. He's fine. He's not up as like one of Disney's greats, I won't say, but he's fun for the movie. But we'll get into the characters, a bit of behind the scenes in there, as what you've come to expect from all of these previous ones now, and an announcement for what we're talking about next week, which is going to be one of my favourites, and I should probably just watch it tonight because I'm that excited to review next we's one. But anyway, let's dive in. So the Aristocats, I'd say we usually start with our first time watching them. So Dale, how was your first time watching the Aristocats?
It was okay. It was fine. It was yeah. Like the thing is, it's really weird because I don't have much more to say on it in terms of an opinion because it wasn't bad. I didn't dislike it, but I left thinking it was okay, and I feel like it was very dated. But it was weird because obviously going through these, a lot of them are like, you've got certain voices, they sound a certain way. Like, how Marilyn Monroe sounds very different to any girl today. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like that, the kind of tone that people use. And it's weird because we go through these and it's like that in a lot of them. But there's a nostalgia feel to a lot of them. And it's like, oh, I remember this. It's all familiar. With this, it's very new and dated to me, which isn't a bad thing. But it's so obvious to me because I haven't seen it before, which I thought was weird and kind of cool. It doesn't make the movie weird.
Voices or from the animation or
just everything together. But the voices was a really, really big thing. And I think, like I say, it's weird because it's not weird that it feels that way, but it's weird to see because it's the first time I've seen it. So, and I think if I'd seen it growing up, it would be more enjoyable. Whereas to me, a lot of it's very like, oh, this is just an old movie. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I've never really had the dated thing with it before. I mean, a lot of these Disney films from this time had the same kind of audio sound, like in the voices, recording equipment and things. We've had this from 101 Dalmatians. I actually think that the worst offender of that is Sword in the Stone for me, which the whole thing of that movie just feels very cheap compared to some of these. But I quite like the energy of this one. I like the story. It's a very simplistic story again. And it's fine. Yeah, so I think we're kind of coming at this from the same perspective in that I think it's fine. It's kind of like mid-level Disney film. But whenever I watch this one, whether it be on TV or if I catch a few scenes, I really enjoy the adventure of it. I like the slapstick comedy of it. We'll get into the two comic relief characters in the film with the two dogs, but I love that segment. It's so cartoony where Edgar's trying to get his possessions back from the crime scene and you've got the dogs and everything. I love that interplay and I've always enjoyed that. But yeah, the rest of the film, it's just a kind of like fine, enjoyable movie, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to sound like I'm ragging on the film because I'm not, but it's just interesting to see how the feeling I get from it because I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, I don't know if this is what it says about the movie per se. I think that this might just be what it says about watching an older movie that you've never ever seen before.
Yeah.
You get like a different feel, and the cool thing is, it's not like just a random movie I've never seen before. It's an older Disney movie, so I've seen a lot of movies like it, but it just has a different feel for me. If that makes sense,
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. I actually wasn't even aware that you hadn't seen this before. So I know that you saw the film in full today. Had you seen clips from it? You'd obviously heard the songs before, right? In
yes,
various other things.
I had seen clips from it. I had seen bits and pieces, but I'd never actually watched it as a full movie. But because I've seen bits and pieces and they were cats, I just saw Oliver and Company in my head. Like, do you know what I mean? I just saw a lot of cats, and like you've got the similar colors as well. I just in my head it all blended. So I'd seen clips, but this is the first time I'd seen it in full. And I'm like, oh, this is this movie. Oh, this is this. This is really cool. As I say, I enjoyed it. It was fine. But it was also interesting because I think there's a big difference as well. Seeing it from this perspective, I think I took a lot more in different ways. Like I can't remember the character's name, but you know that Pixar short, the chess.
It was it the short attached to Bug's Life? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The old man playing chess,
Someone's game.
Like, yeah, it was like a split personality. He was like playing chess with.
Yeah,
himself.
he is 100% in this movie. 100%. Like, you know what I mean? There's
he plays the character. Well, it's Georges. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name, but Georges, the eccentric lawyer of Madame, or whatever her character name is. I thought exactly the same thing when I was watching it. He looks the spitting image, doesn't he?
The weird thing is, it's not even like if someone had told me, like, I mean, I don't feel like it was on purpose. I haven't had a look, to be fair. But if someone had told me it was on purpose, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. You know what I mean? It's everything from the no teeth, and the way his gums go. Like, you know what I mean? When people like old men with no teeth,
the structure of his face.
Yeah, the facial expressions, everything. He was also fun fact, which you probably noticed before, but he was in Toy Story 2 as well.
I was just about to say, just right now, I just remembered. Yeah, he's the guy who repaints Woody, isn't he? Who sews him back together. You can't rush art like that.
Yeah, so it's really quite cool to see. But I think again, this is something we see every single time we do these. Every single movie, we see something that we go, I feel like I've seen this, but I think this is the first time. This isn't even like a slight kind of. I think it's a very obvious, like, obviously this isn't done for that reason, but I feel like he 100% was based on this character.
Yeah, no, I thought the same when I was watching it too. And there was another bit in the film that I caught as well, and I was like, we'll revisit here at some point. There's a bit where I think it's Edgar is in the like he's taking the cats away to like the mill wherever he takes them, and he drives past.
Jerry.
Sorry?
That's his name, Jerry. Jerry's Game. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. But Edgar's driving past, and he drives past Notre Dame, and I was like, we're gonna get there at some point, and it's my favorite Disney film, and I can't wait. I was actually trying to think of any other Disney film that has Notre Dame in it, and I know that Beauty and the Beast is set in France, in Paris, but I think you can see Belle in Hunchback of Notre Dame, but you don't see like Notre Dame or anything like that in Beauty and the Beast, so maybe that's just it. It's interesting you mentioned about that when you were watching this film, though, you were reminded of Oliver and Company, even though that's set in New York, because the story that the Aristocats was originally based on, they kind of compiled it from a couple of stories, I think, and then by the end of it, their narrative was so totally different from the original. So around 1961, so a good 9 years before the film was released, Disney wanted the two people of Harry Title and Tom McGowan to find whatever animal stories they could find, because they were adapting a 2-part live-action episode for I think it was the Disney Channel. It was a show called Wonderful World of Color. I've never heard of that show, but they wanted some like animal live-action shorts, and they were pouring through different stories. And about a month later, McGowan had found loads of different children's books, and he found one about a mother cat and her kittens that was set in New York City. And that was the original story that formed the basis of what would eventually become the Aristocats. Title, though, really liked that 101 Dalmatians was set in London, and he thought that change of setting, and that setting in particular, added a real unique quality to that film. And they wanted to keep it in Europe as well, so they didn't want to set it in London again, and they eventually just settled on the city of Paris for it, which I think works for it. And again, like 101 Dalmatians, I do think it gives it an identity of its own. I think even if they had have set it in New York, that would have still given it an identity of its own. So I don't know why they thought they had to take it away from that setting. But obviously, in a good few films' time, we'll get back to there with Oliver and Company. Oh, and we've lost Dale. He will be back. He will be back. Oh, there he is. Hang on. There we go. He's back in. So yeah, the film just kind of went through as you'd expect with any film, really. The story was chopped and changed. The original villains was actually going to be a duo of villains. You were going to have the butler and the maid, and I don't know if they were going to be like a romantic item together, but they were going to have a villain song together, and then eventually later on down the line, the maid character was cut from the story treatment, and then they didn't feel like they needed a villain song. Interestingly enough, though, would that have made it the first official villain song? Or am I just being dense and just can't remember of anyone singing a song before?
What, you mean like a theme tune, or?
Well, you know, like in the Disney Renaissance, you have like Gaston gets a song, Ursula gets a song, Jafar gets a song, and it's like the Disney villain song. Be prepared kind of thing. Well, I guess you've had
Yeah.
In Pinocchio, you had Hi Diddly Dee and Actor's Life for Me, which they're villains technically, but they're not like the main villain of the film.
Yeah, I think yes, you probably could say this is the
Because Shere Khan, I'm just thinking Shere Khan doesn't get a song.
I never thought of it.
Doesn't get a song.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, because I think, like you say, you've got like, I think we're kind of what's the word when you're thingied into something, brought into it slowly rather than just this is the first big one. I think because we're brought into it slowly, I never actually thought about it, but yeah.
I think I don't know if we've had that discussion before where we're looking ahead thinking when's the first official villain song.
That is a good point.
And I think it would probably be I guess you had Madame Mim again, but even like Madame Mim, it's very episodic. She doesn't feel like the main villain of the film, and I think that's where the disconnect is. I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, yeah, she is the villain in the film. She did have a song, but it doesn't feel like the big showstopper. So maybe we don't feel like that until we get to the Disney Renaissance, where everything feels like a musical. But I thought it was interesting to bring up anyway. There was apparently going to be a subplot as well, where there was a mother cat, and she was trying to find like a safe refuge for her kittens in there. I don't know if that sort of like became part of the story too. But anyway, through various means, it was decided whether it was going to be a live action film. The treatment was sent in the 1962 to Burbank, and it was rejected by the Disney Studios. They thought it didn't meet the cut essentially. And then McGowan personally sent it to Disney when he was staying at a hotel. Disney really enjoyed it, and he says that it should be a live action theatrical film, but he advised on a few changes to the script. The changes were made, and as things went along, conversations were had with Disney that it should be an animated feature, and it was presented to the director, who was working on Jungle Book at the time, and it was decided that it would be the next Disney project. So it was shelved while they worked on Jungle Book, and then it went into production straight away. Worthy to note, though, this one, it's going to be a bit of a downer now, I suppose, but it's the final Disney animated film made with the involvement of Walt Disney Productions co-founder Roy O. Disney. He died in 1971, and we've kind of talked about this in the previous weeks as well, but Disney died. This was the last Disney film that Walt Disney himself had any kind of creative input in, and he died in...
The last film he approved, wasn't it?
What, sorry?
The last film he approved.
Yeah, he was involved in the creation of it. He delegated to other people, different directors, different story artists and things like that, but he was involved with it, and obviously with the treatment being sent to him personally and him ultimately giving it the go-ahead, that's how we end up with the Aristocats. And they made the decision to obviously make it into animation, which I think works. I was trying to think, how would this film have gone in live action? And I keep thinking, do you remember that film? I think that was a Disney film as well, Homeward Bound, where you had the two dogs and the cat trying to get home.
Yeah. I think, well, I've never seen it, but I'm thinking Lion King as well.
Oh, you're talking about the CGI one?
Live action, as in how it worked live action wise. I'm thinking maybe possibly something like that. It could be a little bit different.
Well, I mean, in 1966, they wouldn't have been able to CGI everything like they did in...
The only reason I'm thinking that is because there is a live action remake in development. So I'm just thinking that kind of like idea.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else of note really to talk about it. I did think this when I was watching the film, and in my mind, I was thinking of two Disney films that it feels like a combination of, and right now, and I can only think of one. It does feel very similar to 101 Dalmatians in that it's another, crazed kind of pet caper. How they're trying to. There's a villain who's trying to kill them, and it's like the Cruella de Vil thing, and you've got Edgar in this. It is very similar in that regard, the same style of animation and everything like that. So I'd say that's the film that it feels. It's not as tragic as Bambi, I won't say. It's a bit more lighthearted, but
only thing is because there's like the scene where the cats are carrying away from the rain, and it feels very Bambi with the whole. It's a bit darker. It's a bit you've got the animals kind of grouping together. So I did get Bambi vibes from it.
Yeah. And then, that it was just the maid character got cut. That was pretty much it. They spent 18 months developing the designs for the characters. And originally, Thomas O'Malley, and I was watching one of the deleted scenes on the DVD because there were a few bonus features on there. And it was so cool to see like the original sketches, almost like in a flip book kind of style when you see it coming together. And Thomas O'Malley was going to have stripes like a tabby cat, but they decided not to go with the stripes because they realised apparently it was really hard work to do Shere Khan with the stripes, and they were like, we don't want to do that again, so we get Thomas O'Malley in this one. So that's kind of the preamble. There's not really much else to say apart from the music in there, so I guess we can dive into... Well, let's go for some things that you did like. Which out of the entire film, which was the biggest thing? You say
that like I didn't like it. I did like it. I just...
You were lukewarm.
I feel I don't want to rag on it because it is good. It is a fun movie. It's one of them where I think it would help if I had nostalgia behind it. But then again, it's the first I haven't seen, and I think there's a lot of those where you just kind of get that vibe from. I also get a bit of a Cinderella vibe from the mice as well. Like I know these are all animal related, so it's kind of like okay, cool. There's mice. That's like saying, I get Frozen vibes because, they're cartoons or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But I think the reason is because the style and the look and the way like the mice were like put on clothes and stuff. But no, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and I enjoy a little bit of racism every now and
then. We'll talk about that later. I bet you got your warning at the start, didn't you, on Disney Plus?
I did, yes, and then I googled the lyrics because I googled Everybody Wants, and I kept looking at the Van Halen song Everybody Wants Them for a while, but yeah, I did Google it for the lyrics to see like the differences with what's there as well, but yeah, you did get the little warning at the front.
Everybody wants some too. Oh, I've got to listen to that now. Great reference as always. I love it. That's the thing I look forward to the most. Obviously, talking Disney's always great as well, but that's what we're all here for. That's what I'm here for. I'm just here for the Van Halen references.
I know, and I guarantee there's some people going, "Who's that?" I can guarantee it, but then I can also guarantee there's people that have googled them afterwards and been like, "I like this band now." So basically, they now owe me money because I'm getting them revenue. So if you're listening, endorsement ideas.
Yes. Sure. We just had one listener, so that could be our guy. That could be the one. I think what I like about this, I love the voice talent behind it, as I do with a lot of the Disney films around this time. There's a real nice sense of familiarity with a lot of the voice actors because they've either been reused from previous ones. What you tend to get is you'll get like usually 3 films sometimes in close proximity to each other where you'll get the same voice actors in those 3 films. And you have that with Phil Harris as Thomas O'Malley in this. Now, to me, I mentioned this week, he's in 3 films. He's obviously Baloo the Bear in the Jungle Book, Thomas O'Malley in this, and he plays Little John, also a bear character in I've given it away, but Robin Hood. But to me, maybe it's because Jungle Book was the first one that I saw out of all of those. I mean, I can't confirm that, but I know that Jungle Book was one of the very, very first Disney videos that I had. He's always Baloo to me. And even when I hear his voice in this as Thomas O'Malley, a completely different character, I'm just like, why is Baloo a cat? He is just that bear character to me.
It's kind of like Tom Hanks. I can't hear him in any other movie because I'm like, that's Woody.
Toy Story. Yeah.
I've never, ever... I mean, I have watched, but I've lasted 15 minutes in Saving Private Ryan because I'm like, it's Woody though. I can't do it. I've only lasted like 15 minutes, so I get what you mean 100%.
See, now that's a spin-off right there. It would be Woody with all of the soldier toys from Andy's room.
That is true. That's a spin-off I'd watch. But have you seen the spin-off where Andy uses Buzz Lightyear as a bong?
That's in oh god, what was that show? Robot Chicken,
isn't it?
Yeah. Hello, Woody.
Yeah, that was great.
Is it Good Night, Sweet Prince? Oh, we need to talk about Toy Story as well at some point. I was just thinking about the soldier characters there when Woody knocks Buzz out the window, and then all of the toys start turning against Woody, and the soldier just pops out the tub. Is like, "Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace."
I know. To be fair, I think it says the '90s said a lot about Disney, like a lot. There was a lot going on, which is great, which we'll always obviously get to. But the '90s said a lot.
Creatively, it was just their peak. You know, every film was a hit. They had the formula down. Why have we strayed away from the formula, guys? Come on, it's very easy. Get back to what made it work.
I think everyone was at their creative peak. I mean, Tupac was. I don't know what happened to him after the 90s. He kind of disappeared, fizzled away.
Oh god. But yeah, just going back to the voice actor thing. A new voice that they introduced into this, the voice of Duchess. Absolutely wonderful choice for the voice, and she's just got a great voice anyway. But with Eva Gabor, who we'll see in The Rescuers, who plays Miss Bianca, such a great voice. Really, really wonderful voice. I was going to say femme fatale. It's not really a femme fatale voice, but it just really works for the character, and I can't imagine that voice, any other voice playing that character. You've got Sterling Holloway back as well, who plays Rockfoot the Mouse, and also introducing a new one. And I love this guy's voice. He's got one of the most distinctive and best voice I've ever seen in any Hollywood film. You've got Pat Buttram, who I think he did a lot of westerns and stuff like that. But he plays one of the dogs. He's the dog that has the really good hearing in this, and he's got this kind of southern drawl to his voice. And he's in the next film as the Sheriff of Nottingham. He's an absolute wonderful voice, that character. He's not in Winnie the Pooh, but we'll see him again in Fox and the Hound, where he plays the character of Chief. And his voice is amazing. I can't replicate how his voice sounds, but
isn't it I swear in these movies, you go through phases of how things in the world work. But what I'm seeing with voice actors is the first few Disney movies, different voice actors all the time. We didn't have voice actors this is a voice actor. They do a few roles. They're going for 10, 15 years. They're in this movie, then this movie, then this movie. Whereas now we're starting to see, like you said, they do 2 or 3 or 4 movies, and then we'll get another lot sort of thing. That's kind of how it works. Whereas now, what we kind of see from movies is you have voice actors who they're big, so Disney, for argument's sake, will choose them, and they go, right, they're going to be in one movie. Then the next one, you're going to have this kind of big actor. The next one, you're going to have this kind of big actor. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to see the development of how kind of not styles change, but trends.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of the older Disney films, you had, it was the early days of cinema for one, but it was a lot of stage actors. It was a lot of theatre people that would come in and supply those roles. And yeah, it wasn't really about... I can't vouch for it because I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know how big those voice talents were. But as we found out when we first started this thing, which I was unaware of, voice actors weren't even credited in the film as supplying their voice. So it was, whoever was on stage at the time. There are some good examples where they'll do that, and we kind of see that in... you have Billy Joel in Oliver and Company. You have Vincent Price in Basil the Great Mouse Detective. Probably the most famous example is Robin Williams as the genie. So you have that. So it's kind of like a mixture, I'd say, in the Disney Renaissance. But that's
Darth Vader is
James Earl Jones.
What's his name? I was going to call him Mushu. Don't know why I was going to do that. The faster. Yeah.
Well, Eddie Murphy as Mushu as well. So you get those big names in as a bit part or as a.
But they're kind of you get the iconic one that does one role.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, I think, the difference. But like you say, we see periods of, like you say, they were uncredited. They were just, well, I say they were just people, but you know what I mean. It was just like unheard of people. Then then you have this trend, and then suddenly you get iconic people that'll do one role, and then you'll get someone else new. So it's interesting to see whilst we're doing this.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the voice actor as well here for Scat Cat, the character. They were going to try and get Louis Armstrong again. It's the same kind of thing that happened with King Louis, where they wanted to get Louis Armstrong's voice. And apparently he was really... he couldn't do the project due to illness, so they got Scatman Crothers in, who, if you've seen The Shining, you will know as the character of Dick Halloran, the cook, who befriends Danny, who's got the Shining ability. And
I saw The Shining once.
Tries very unsuccessfully to rescue them from the hotel. So that was cool. I didn't realise it was him. I completely forgot it was him. So good voice talents in this one. Things that I like, I've already kind of mentioned it, but all of the scenes with the farm dogs with Edgar are great. Apparently they were going to be a one and done scene, but because they really enjoyed the characters and the voices, they added a couple of extra scenes in with them. So I really like that.
Get a lot of Lady Tremaine vibes as well. I do. So, obviously from what?
From the Madame character or who?
Yeah, I do. Not in personality, but I think in looks and the way she carries herself, because it's that posh kind of. I don't know how to describe it, but the way she kind of tends to her cats. I think Lucifer. Like,
oh yeah,
I get a lot of those vibes, and I think there's one scene from what I remember. She's standing, like you see her through a window, and it's very like. Yeah, I can kind of, you know what I mean? So I do get a lot of those as well.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. Speaking of the Madame character, I guess this takes us on to music. There was a lot of music that was written for this film that never got used. And on the behind the scenes of the DVD, one of the Sherman brothers talks about the song and where it would have been placed into the film. When we begin the film and we've got the Madame character in the horse-drawn carriage, and she's got the box. There was a gramophone in there with a record that she was apparently going to be like a singer, and she'd recorded this record and she was listening to herself sing, and this song was going to be called Pourquoi, and it was going to be a duet, I believe, between her on the recording and her singing in the actual room listening to the record. And it was basically just going to be how much she loves her cats, and that was going to be our introduction song into everything. And that same song was going to get a reprise later on called She Never Felt Alone, and they actually spliced this in where it would have gone into the actual film. And it's when Duchess, Thomas O'Malley and the kittens are on the back of the milk truck, and he says like, oh, let's get out of here, and she says, I can't, Madame would be so upset. And then it was going to go into Duchess singing the same melody from the beginning of the film. So I like when songs do that. I like when they get a reprise, and I think that would have been quite nice, but ultimately kind of pointless because we can already tell how much Madame likes and cares for a cat. So I'm not sure that we need a song to further exemplify what we can already see very evidently and very clearly in the film. I think also at that point it would have been a lot of songs. It'd be quite top heavy towards the beginning of the film. You have the intro song, the Aristocats. You would have then gone pretty much less than a minute straight into that song that got cut called Pourquoi, and then right after that you have Scales and Arpeggio. So you'd have had 3 songs in very, very close proximity. So I understand the need to get rid of one. The Aristocats song was apparently voiced by a French singer called Maurice Chevalier. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. Who was in retirement and came out of retirement specifically to record that song because I think it was the director really enjoyed his voice.
Julie Andrews. She was meant to be the Duchess, wasn't she?
Whoa, was she?
Well, I read that she was the role was kind of written for her.
Oh,
it was written to be her. Yeah, it would have. I'm trying to think how that would have. That would have been cool. But yeah,
I think they got the right voice. Like just.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. It was written for her, but she couldn't do it. Scheduling conflicts, and all that kind of crap. But yeah, interesting because, like you say, it'd be interesting to wonder what that would actually sound like.
Well, I mean, if we go to Shrek 2, it's Fiona's mom, so that's what it would have sounded like.
I would have a little bit preferred Judy Garland, but that would have been fun.
What are the songs? What other songs did we have? There was apparently going to be a song that was going to close out the film called Le Jazz Hot, which was replaced with a reprise of Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. Probably the right idea. That is, I'm just going to give it away right now. That's my favourite song in the film. I think it's great. It's so catchy. Even with possibly racist lyrics in there. I mean, I guess it's an Asian cat with slant eyes and buck teeth, and he's playing chopsticks on the piano with chopsticks, and the lyrics to his section of the song are Shanghai, Hong Kong, egg foo young, fortune cookie, always wrong. And I think he says like his R's and his L's. You know what it'd be like. I've already been cancelled on YouTube. I don't want to get cancelled for a second time.
I hate fortune cookies because I got a fortune cookie recently, and it said you like Chinese food, and I was like, fuck me, they're fucking scary actually.
They're desperate.
Yeah, so yeah, I get it. Fortune cookie always. Well, to be fair, they're always right, but they don't take many risks, do they?
No, exactly. But interesting to note about the music, which I wasn't even aware of. So the Sherman Brothers, I thought they did loads more projects with Disney, but this was the last one that they worked on for a considerable while. They became increasingly frustrated by the studio's management following Disney's death. So they completed their work on this film, but they would not return to a Disney film apparently to compose songs until the Tigger movie in the year 2000. So it was a good 30 years they were away from Disney.
Another movie I haven't seen.
I've watched bits of it. I remember it being pretty emotional, actually. It wasn't like a Disney classic or anything. It was just a spin-off movie.
A bit emotional, so you'd say a bit up and down.
Sure. But yeah, it's this kind of like weird time of Disney films, isn't it, where there's not a whole lot of songs. I think the Disney formula that we've got in our minds is, and it's probably nostalgia talking, is the Disney Renaissance, which we keep talking about. It's the one that feels like you go into a West End show. You've got the songs that hit all of the beats that a stage show usually does. You have the classic I Want song, where you've got Ariel, I want to be part of their world. You've got Belle, I want more than this provincial life. You have the villain song. You have all of these ingredients that go into it, and the formula that they absolutely nailed. And with these earlier films, the songs, there's not loads in there. There's some that are memorable. Everybody Wants to Be a Cat's probably the big one. You hate this song, but the Aristocats, the opening song, has been stuck in my head for years, since I was a kid. And I was just walking around going like, natural element, the Aristocats. It would just pop into my head randomly, driving me insane.
It's a bit too French for me.
You fucking xenophobic asshole.
But no, I just didn't. It was okay. It was there. It reminded me of, what's that movie we saw with the what was the first one? Not Three Caballeros.
Saludos Amigos?
No, the very, very first one. Was it Saludos Amigos out of the package films?
Yeah, Saludos Amigos is the first one.
Yeah, it reminded me of that, where it was like, it's not bad, but it was, yeah.
Mm. No, that's fair enough. Scales and arpeggios as well. That's been stuck in my head a lot. Wow.
Difference with Saludos Amigos, it was probably one of the better things about the film. The film was a little bit better.
Yeah. Watching this again though, and I'm interested to get your input on this. I am totally on Edgar's side in this film, 100 fucking %. He has worked his fingers to the bone to look after this ungrateful old woman. The bit where the lawyer comes in and is this like 90-year-old guy, and he's almost falling down the stairs, and he's literally bending over backwards to like help this guy, and so that he doesn't fall and like die. And then he hears that she's leaving her fortune to her cats. What are they gonna do?
Isn't that a thing money? Though? Isn't that a thing? Isn't it based on a family that did that?
I'm not denying that there's probably some strange fucking aristocratic people out there, eccentric aristocratic people that would do some bullshit thing like that.
I don't think it's just happened once or twice. I do genuinely believe this is a thing that people have done.
Probably. But guess what?
So,
Edgar's been there, and Edgar has done everything, and that's how she betrays him.
to be fair, quite realistic. How many times have you done everything for a girl and...
Just fair point. It's a fair point.
Exactly.
But
it's a very realistic movie.
But all Edgar needed to do was, so he has to look after the cats, basically, right? He just needs to not feed them. He just needs to go on holiday. Hey, the cats have been left the house. That's in the will, so he's good legally, and he can go off on holiday, and he comes back, and all of the millions are his. Yeah, I'm totally on Edgar's side in this one. I'm 100%. Or he could have rehomed the cats. I guess he could have done that.
I don't know how that would work though. Like, if he rehomed the cats, would he get any money?
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know, but yeah, it was weird because I was like, I swear down, people have done this. I swear this is a thing, and I think it was even based on that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely, yeah, I agree. But I swear it's a thing. Like, I don't know why, but I watched it and it wasn't abnormal. It wasn't weird because I watched it and I thought like, yeah, I swear someone's done this. I don't know why. I don't know who did. But yeah. Also, the swans.
the geese. The geese.
The geese. That's it. The geese. When they walk and you see their like arse moving side to side. Why don't we get a Disney princess thing do that? Why don't we get that? Why don't we get a Disney princess montage? Because that would have worked a lot better.
The geese's walk. The geese's walk did it for you in this film.
Well, do you know what? It's the bit I've seen a couple of times. I rewound
Abigail
a few
and
times.
Amelia.
Yeah, I rewound a couple of times.
I do like their completely pissed as a fart Uncle Waldo though. He's quite funny. He was almost cooked, basted in white wine. That was quite funny. I like his character.
I could barely see him. Because Waldo,
Oh, only the Americans will get that because we call him Wally in this country.
Yeah, I don't know why. To be fair,
it's a trademarking thing. I'm actually trying to desperately think of anything else to talk about this movie because this is probably going to be one of our shorter ones. We're not even at 40 minutes yet.
If you want a full opinion of I think the strong point of this movie, it's not the plot, it's not the music, but it's the individual characters. It's one of them where I think, it's one of them like I played a game recently, and I remember coming away thinking to myself, I was like 11 out of 10, great, everything. The music, this is great, but the story was like its weakest point. Not to say that the story was crap, but because the rest really outshone, and it's kind of like the characters. Not that the rest is terrible, but the characters, the banter between the characters, the personality they all had. I think that just overshone the rest. It is a fun movie, and I think nostalgia is something where if I had that, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. And I think it's one that I don't think I wouldn't be in a rush to go back because I've watched it now, and you know what I mean. I'm 29. I've watched it now. It's not like as a kid going, oh yeah, cool, I'll go watch that again. But I think it's something if I did, I'd enjoy it the second, third, fourth time round more. Because it's one of them.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think it's definitely been a film that's grown on me the more times that I've watched it, 100%. I'm not going to put this in, like S tier, A tier, or anything like that. I'd probably put it in like a solid B, this one. I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember the other Disney films it reminded me of. So I think 101 Dalmatians, because you've got like the whole kind of pet caper, as I mentioned, and you've got a villain that's trying to, kill the puppies, and this, kill the cats, get rid of them. Lady and the Tramp, because it's the trampy Thomas O'Malley kind of character and the very posh from a privileged home Duchess lady character, and there's the romantic animal connection there, and also a little bit of Emperor's New Groove, how you have Yzma and Kronk who try and dispatch of Emperor Cusco so that they can get all the riches and the power, and then it's Cusco coming back and them trying to get rid of them. So there's a little bit of that in there as well. I
also think the Mad Hatter. Yeah. His hat is in it. So you know how you've got obviously he's got the green hat, and it's kind of like a homeless hat. It's got the kind of top do you know what I mean? It's like where you'd see a cliche homeless person. One of the geese again is wearing the same hat.
Oh, Uncle Waldo has a hat on. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, and because it's just, I mean, I guess not his hat, but I guess because it's the same color and the same type of hat, and he's got the kind of homeless look to it, like the tips coming off. It just felt very like, oh look, it's the Mad Hatter's hat. Like it felt very like that, which was kind of cool.
I already missed that film, and we only watched it a few weeks ago. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that scene. I think with the Mad Hatter, I love it. There was going to be another thing you mentioned there about the hat, and it reminded me of something else.
Batman the Mad Hatter.
No.
Robin Hood, Batman. There's another connection.
It was the fact that you noticed the hat, and I was like, oh, I also noticed this other thing too. Oh, yeah. When Rockford the mouse gets dressed up to go out and to look for the kittens, and he puts like the little the cap on, and I was like, oh, Basil the Great Mouse Detective, because he's dressed like Sherlock Holmes.
That's what I got, Basil the Great Mouse Detective, but that was where I thought Cinderella as well. What the whole them putting on the clothes, it had a very similar look to it. But again, Rescuers, it's a very, I think there's a lot of similarities with the way it's done. But obviously Disney movie, it's going to be similar. But I just got a lot of those vibes.
His eyes as well, the way his eyes are drawn. It wouldn't have been at this point because they changed the look of Mickey, but he looked like old school Mickey, where it was just like the black dots for eyes, wasn't it? There was no like pupils in there or like the big dazzling Disney eyes. It was just two dots, and it kind of reminded me of like old school Mickey Mouse on some of those older cartoons. It is funny watching it again how Thomas O'Malley's trying to be baby daddy. Like he's like, oh yeah, this Duchess is a bit of alright, I'm gonna schmooze, and it's like, oh, she's got 3 kids, apparently from all different fathers as well, because they're all different colours. So, but he's like, I know people like that. I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna be the father figure. I'm gonna do the thing. I
know a girl like that.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's Aristocats. I feel kind of bad that this hasn't even clocked in an hour, but I don't want to drag it out for.
Is it Aristocats or Aristocats?
I've always said Aristocats.
Me too, but I do think it's Aristocats. I do believe that's
Aristocrats. I don't know if it's an American and a British and American thing. I've heard a lot of Americans say aristocrats. So
I think that's what it is, but I've always said Aristocats, but I think it's I don't know, but I do think it's Aristocats.
But yeah, I think that's the movie. I really enjoyed going back to this one. I did. I wasn't distracted by my phone. I wasn't distracted, doing other things. I just sat and watched it. And honestly, it's one of the highlights of my week. I don't get much free time now, unfortunately. I still haven't seen Dune 2 at the cinema, for example. That's on my list of ones to get to. But I have got a couple of weeks off coming up very soon. So I will be going to the cinema and catching up on all these films that I've missed, or as many as I can. But the next one that we will be talking about next Monday, I don't think we've got anything on next Monday, have we? What is next week? Yes, next Monday at the same time, we're going to be talking about Robin Hood. One of the best adaptations of the Robin Hood story, of the Robin Hood legend, and one of my favourite Disney movies. Without a shadow of a doubt, I have a whale of a time with this one. The characters are hilarious, the songs are great, the comedy's great. I'm genuinely so hyped to talk about this one next week.
He's a bit like the Yeti, isn't he?
Robin Hood?
Yeah, like no one knows if he's real, or have they seen him.
I mean, there's a statue of Robin Hood in Nottingham. I've seen it.
Was he a real person?
I don't know if he was a real person. He might have been a real person, and the legend kind of like spurned off him that way, I guess. There's no smoke without fire.
That's the thing. I don't know.
Let me check, actually. I don't think he was. I'm going to be really stupid now if I find he was like a fictional character in a book or something. But
that's the thing. I don't know if he's if he's a real person. I watched this again when I say recently, I think about a year ago. Robin Hood, like a year ago. It was the character that's in it. This is gonna bug me. What's his name? Hang on, I'm gonna Google it now because I'm gonna.
He's just an English folklore character, so I'm always of the like mind that these things originated from someone, and then good stories are embellished, To paraphrase a Hobbit quote right there. Good stories deserve embellishment, and then through many, 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 many years and many centuries, we get the legend as we know it today.
So who's the the king in the film?
Yeah.
What animal is he?
He's a lion.
Lion, right? He's in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, right?
Oh, there is a lion character in that, isn't there?
But they look exactly the same.
They might have used the same kind of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I don't think I've actually ever watched that movie all the way through. You know?
Do you know what? I've watched it about 5 times because for some reason it was the only film my nan owned on video.
Oh, he looks very similar. Yeah, now watching it again, 100%.
Yeah.
He's called King Leonidas in the film as well. So that movie came out 1971, which I'm guessing was probably right around the time of Disney's Robin Hood. Robin Hood came out in 1973. So okay, Bedknobs and Broomsticks was the first one to do it. There you go.
And who was the again? This is Warner Brothers. Who was the one in the
Warner Brothers?
Yeah. So there was there's a it's really this is a really really bad example because I have no idea who I'm talking about, but I can see him in my head. You know when you got a character and you're like that character, don't know how to describe them except it's again a lion and he's with Bugs Bunny and they're in a short together and that's all I can describe.
Oh yeah, no, I've shit. Yeah, hang on. Looney Tunes lion. I can see the image in my head. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and he talks.
Yeah.
He talks quite posh kind of thing. Not really camp, but there's a slight posh campness to him. And he's a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's just
very
Leo
similar.
There's a few lion characters they've had actually. There's Leo the lion, which seems like the main one, and then there's Pete the Puma.
Is that the one, Pete the Puma?
Yeah, that looks more like what I think you're getting at. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna just have a look. Pete the Puma. Yeah, that one. That's the one I'm on about. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very similar.
Similar vibes.
Yeah.
But Bedknobs and Broomsticks definitely same thing.
Pete the Puma debuted in 1952, so 20 years before.
See, but Bedknobs and Broomsticks, that is 100%. I remember because I watched that before I watched Robin Hood. And I watched Robin Hood and I went, same character. It's yeah, do you know what I mean? I thought it was because Bedknobs and Broomsticks is kind of they go around on a bed, weirdly. Like to kind of it like do you know what I mean? They kind of go into that cartoon world, it's that kind of thing. I thought they kind of went and visited Robin Hood. That's what I thought. But like I say, I saw the movie after Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at I'm already looking at the reviews and stuff ahead of time. And I mean, I already knew this anyway, but there is a lot of recycled animation in Robin Hood. So much that they even recycle within the same film itself. But it says, despite that, because it had a lot of criticism at the time for that, the film's reputation has grown positively over time and has since become a cult classic. I would say it has, yeah.
Angela Lansbury died.
She died a while back, didn't she?
I didn't even know this. How did I not know?
Yeah, dude, she died 2 years ago in the October.
Well, I wasn't around 2 years ago. There was a time in my life where I was no longer around. Like, I genuinely, I didn't even realise that until this second.
I did a post about her. I was like, oh no, Mrs. Potts has died. A Murder, She Wrote.
Oh yeah, I remember you doing that now. But yeah, she died.
It made me very sad. I've already said the next 10 years are going to be fucking brutal, mate. Absolutely brutal.
I know. What's James L. Jones? He's doing all right, isn't he?
You dare! Don't you dare! Because you always jinx things. I don't want it to happen. Anyway, okay, we're going to round it off there. Robin Hood's the one next week. I'm excited. I kind of want to watch it right now. So yeah, we'll get that done. We'll be back at the usual time of 8 p.m. And